Then we'll just have to jump in where we are. My name is Chris Bridges, and God tells me that I am the leading authority in this area, or nationally rather, as it relates to credit management. I'm often told I make credit come alive, or come alive, whatever that's the right way to say it. But I'm going to teach you some things, as I told this young lady. If I don't teach you something when you walk out of here today, then we will reimburse you for your cost of this session. That's a joke, y'all. Come on. All right. So let me know who I'm talking to. How do we say that? Mashika. Yeah, and Roslyn. And she came into my session. Thank you for being here with me. All right. So the name of this session that they have is Establishing Credit for Your Business. But what I'm going to really talk about is how to generate wealth by using other people's money. Now, I think that would have probably drove in some more people if they had that title, right? But they didn't use my title that I gave them. Bless God. That's okay. All right. So, again, my name is Chris Bridges. I am a speaker, author, and a coach. And I'm so glad to be here with you today. And the reason is because I speak to people all around. And I teach about what I'm going to teach you today. But God gave me this mission. This is my purpose of what I do. And so it's nice to be back in the house of God and talking to his people. Amen on that one? Because he gives you gifts, but when you're able to use your gifts back for his people, then there's an anointing on that. Okay, so what I did not do is I did not grow up, my parents did not teach me about credit. I don't have a degree in credit management. It's not something that I sat up and learned about. So what I'm going to share with you is, it really is the information and the wisdom that God gave me. It's nothing different about me and your credit scores. I'm not going to ask you to tell me what your credit scores are. It's not what this is about. I have free sessions where we can go over that. So that's not what we're going to do. But I want you to know that there's nothing really different between me and the people that I teach. The only thing that's different, because my credit report could have some things on it as well, right? Credit is affected by our ability to pay. So how many of y'all know if your money gets a little bit tight, it could affect your credit, right? And so there's some things that are on my credit report as well. But here's the difference. I know what to do about it. So some things I had to make some decisions about, just like you will. If you haven't yet, keep living. So there's some times that we have to make some decisions. And there's some times that, we might fall into just a little slight financial stuff. But I'm believing that we're going to be having multi-million-dollar businesses, which are going to drive multi-million dollars into our personal business. And as a result, how many of you guys know I don't have million-dollar clients? Million-dollar clients should not have credit challenges. If they do, they need to fire their accountant. Because they have the money, they're just not paying their bills. There's something wrong there. So I want you to know up front, I stand in no place of judgment. The only thing, again, that's different between me and the people that I teach or coach is that I know what to do if something does have to happen with my credit. I know how to fix it. And so I'm here today because I want to make sure that you all walk out with the same kind of tools and know what to do. You're not going to walk out of here and be credit experts, but I will tell you that you'll walk out more empowered about what to do with it. It's your credit or whether you're in here standing in for someone else. Because we've got to teach others. Can't tell you how many times I talk to folks and they're like, my parents didn't tell me that, and I know they didn't, because it's just something that doesn't happen in our community, unfortunately. And some things we think are dirty words. Like on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, at 5 o'clock, I have a radio show every Sunday at 5 o'clock. It's called Real Talk About Credit with Chris. And if you know anyone who's ever filed bankruptcy or considered filing bankruptcy or on the brinks right now, they need to listen in on the show. I'm going to have a bankruptcy attorney to talk about how bankruptcy isn't a dirty word. We're one of the few communities that look at bankruptcy as it's dirty, or it's bad, or it's shameful, or that how could we have done it. Other communities look at bankruptcy as a strategic decision. It's a financial strategic decision, right? So we got to open up our minds to thinking. It is absolutely new beginnings. All right, so what we want to do today, we're going to talk about building and how to successfully build your business credit. But I will do you no justice if I don't first take a few steps back and talk about your personal. Because most business owners start off funding their business financially based on their own personal credit. Now, how many of you guys own a business now? Just about everybody. Are you thinking about owning? And you're in the conference. I'm going to assume there's some business passion in you, right, that you're about to birth. Okay, fantastic. Well, as we get into both the personal tips and the business tips, know that it doesn't matter how long you've been in business. I'll tell you some things, even how to maybe go back and do something slightly different. There is a necessity to separate your personal credit from your business credit. So out the gate, you need to know that, okay? Then we'll talk about that a little bit more. First, let me stand on God's word as it relates to our debt and our finances. I'm going to give you 3 scriptures. I like the Message Bible. It makes it just come to life for me. So I'm going to read these 3 scriptures in the Message Bible. One is Deuteronomy 28:12, and it says, God will throw open the doors of his sky vaults and pour rain on your land on schedule and bless the work you take in hand. You will lend to many nations, but you yourself won't have to take out a loan. That's good stuff, right? That's what God said. His word never fails. Proverbs 22:7 says, the poor are always ruled over the rich. So don't borrow and put yourself under the power. Now you know these scriptures. You just may know them under different translations, but you know these scriptures. And then Ecclesiastes 5:5 says, far better not to vow than to vow, which means to borrow, and not pay. We can just stand on that, right? If we're going to borrow money, we should make sure that we have the intent, at least, to pay. Now, life happens, things happen, but when we borrow, we should have the intent to pay. So let me talk a little bit about what is credit, because it's the same whether we're establishing it for our personal or for our business. It's basically a 3-digit number that determines whether or not we're going to get something. And credit allows us to acquire something today, pay for it tomorrow. It could be a flat screen TV, it can be some shoes, it can be equipment that we need to operate our business, it can be a lease that we're paying monthly on. Whatever it is, it allows us to take possession of something and to pay for it tomorrow. Would you all agree with that? Now, did you sign any waivers or permission slips to the credit bureaus or to anybody in that industry to give them the right to report information about you? Did you guys get yours in? You didn't turn yours in? Did anybody ask you if you wanted to participate in the credit scoring systems? No? Oh, okay, I didn't either. They didn't ask me. So what we know is if we live in America and we want to do business or any other financial transactions, and we want to do it not on cash, we have to participate in the credit scoring world, right? So we better know how this thing works. So they didn't ask us permission. We don't have a choice. Don't we better kind of figure out how this whole thing works so that we can leverage it better? How is credit evaluated? So if I were to ask you, Mia, right now, I need a loan. Can you loan me $100? Please. What you gonna think? What you gonna say?
If you ask me?
Yeah, sure. Then you may, because I know I'm cool and you like
Yeah.
it. But what would you think in your mind if I came up and said, can I borrow $100?
Because I have to know.
Do you have the capability of paying it back?
What would you think? So I'm your girlfriend.
Okay.
Maybe I'm the one that borrows from everybody. In your mind, we do this. It's just instantly. We do this. You're thinking, girl, no, pay me back. Did
Exactly.
you pay her back?
Yeah.
We do that, right? So do our lenders. I don't know why we expect anything different. The only different is they do it in a more formal way. They look at your credit report. But your credit report basically tells how well you paid someone else so that the new lender can determine if I'm going to get my money back. It's the same thing we do mentally in our head. They just do it in a more formal capacity, right? And they do that by utilizing information provided by these 3 companies. You know who they are: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Now, we don't owe them anything, so our debt is not with the credit bureaus or the credit repository companies. We don't owe them. However, they report information about us. And again, we didn't sign any permission slips, right? So we didn't give them the right to report. And what if I told you that 80% of the information on consumers' reports is actually wrong? Now, you don't have to put your hands up, but how often, in your mind, do you actually check your credit reports? If I just told you that 80% of the information on our consumer credit reports is inaccurate, shouldn't we be checking it? At least once a year, we should, right? And more often if necessary, but at least once a year. Now, the only place, and this is a good write-down moment, the only place that you can actually get your credit report for free is at annualcreditreport.com. The other sites that have the man playing the banjo and everybody's running around dancing, it says it's free. It is not free. You will pay. So the only place as afforded to us according to the law is at annualcreditreport.com, okay? So as we're checking our credit profile at least once a year, we're able to take a look at it and figure out what's going on, right? Is everything in its place, thank you very much, as it should be? Is all this information actually mine? Have I been a victim possibly of identity theft that happens every 3 seconds? Whatever, but we're checking on our credit report. So the people who are reporting the information, they're getting the information by our creditors. Now, how many of you looked and said, that's not right? You know, but why is it that TransUnion says I still have a balance and Equifax says that I paid it, and Experian has, you know, very limited information or outdated information? You ever kind of wonder that? Wouldn't it be nice if the creditors could put all the same information in the cloud and then make the credit bureaus just come and get what they want, but it's the same information? Wouldn't that be nice? It doesn't work that way. So the credit bureaus, again, we don't owe them anything. They're responsible for just reporting the information as it's given to them, okay? And the creditors, as you open up an account, the creditors do not have to report to the credit bureaus. A lot of people ask me that. Why is this not on this bureau, but it's on this one? That's a choice. It's a contract. It's an obligation. You know, they pay to the credit bureaus to report, so they don't have to. So if you know anyone that's looking to build their credit, they may want to ask, do you report to all three? And make sure that you're leveraging, you know, maximizing that particular account. So, credit bureaus, not nonprofits, not consumer advocates, not necessarily our friend, all right? They make a ton of money. They make a lot of money off of the creditors that report about us, and they make a lot of money off of us as consumers. So that's who they are. Again, we don't owe them anything. And the nice thing about the credit bureaus that people don't realize is that they don't have a memory. Why is that important? You know, credit is one of the things that can be changed. Have you ever known people who've had good credit and now they don't? Maybe 30 days later? Or someone who's had challenged credit and now they have good credit? So the nice thing that I make sure that people know is that you can change your credit for the good or for the bad. But even if something happens and your scores drop, there are activities that you can do to rebuild it. So it's nice. It's like dieting, right? Sometimes we go up and we go down. Credit is very similar to that. Now, a credit score, the range on the FICO model is between a 350 and an 850. Now, how many of y'all know we actually started with an 850? So we started at the highest that we can. When I say we started, as soon as you establish the credit profile, what happens is the information that's being reported about you, that information then determines or impacts your credit score. So, good information being reported, your score stays high. Negative information reported, your score is going to be impacted. One late payment on an account can drop your score 100 points. So we need to understand the 5 areas. So the 5 things that will help us to drive closer or to our 850. Okay, that's what I want you to understand. So there are 5 things. The first and the biggest impact to our credit score is 35% of our score. That's called payment history. How well or not we paid our bill. So when my daddy told me, Chris, pay your bills on time, he was absolutely right. He didn't even realize. He didn't know anything about credit at the time. But that was the largest impact to our credit score. So he gave me good advice. And at the time, I had a good job. I did business development in corporate America, and I made a ton of money. I made over $300,000. And how many of y'all know it's easy to pay my bills? I could have paid yours. I would have paid all of you guys' bills. I could have probably paid your kids' bills. It was easy to do that. So my father's advice worked. Pay your bills on time, like the millionaires. Now, I no longer have a corporate job. I'm walking in my destiny and my purpose, and I'm believing that God will make this a multi-million-dollar business. But that's just not what I see right today in the natural. So there's some other things you need to know about maintaining your credit other than paying your bills. Y'all follow me? The next largest impact to your credit score is 30% of your credit score is called amount owed or balances. Now, a lot of people think this applies to all their credit across the board. It really doesn't. It applies more so to your credit cards. So don't think you gotta run out there and pay your mortgage down to below 30%. That's gonna be a little bit hard. And we're talking about the ratio between the credit limit and the balances that you carry on a monthly basis. So your mortgage, it's not calculated the same way. Your car note is not. If you went out here today and paid your car note off, paid your entire car note off, fantastic for you from a debt perspective, a debt management perspective. It will not help your credit score whatsoever. Okay? You're about to do that.
Next month, and I'm like, oh, my credit's about to go up.
No, it's not. You're going to do something else. And for that, and the vice versa, don't think that you want to build credit, so you're going to go get a car. People think, Chris, I needed to build my credit. I bought a car. Well, great. You needed a car if you did. Other than that, it doesn't work that way. But the one type of credit that it does help, that 30% rule, are your credit cards. So if you've got a credit card and you're carrying more than 30% of the limit, I want you to pay it down. Now, most people at this moment, their heads start to spin, they're calculating. I've been using that credit card a lot. I'm well above 30%. Don't panic. Your first goal is to get it to 50% of the limit. That will help your score as well. And then get it down to 40, and then ultimately to 30, but really get it down to about 1 to 2%. The idea is to have it, I hear you, I got you, babe, is to have credit established for a bit, have had, high limits and really low balance. That's where you want to go. You had a question for me?
Yes, is store card a credit card?
A store card is a credit card. It is considered a revolving account. It's not graded the same. So if you had a choice between, you want to build credit, you had a choice between going to Macy's and getting a Macy's card, or going to PNC and getting a MasterCard or Visa, go to the bank. So a store card is a type of credit card. It's just not, it is not rated as high as a major institution. Okay, good question. So that's balances owed 30% of your score. Don't look for that little fine print to be in the terms and conditions when you get your credit card. Okay, they want you to be above 100%. Y'all know that. Right. They're not going to tell you that. Okay, but you need to know as soon as you go above 30%, it starts to negatively impact your score. Now, 15% is length of credit. How long have you had credit established? Again, these are the principles that will get you closer to your 850. This is the area where if you just opened up an account last year versus you've had an account established for the last 15 years, whether it's open or closed, if it's on that report, it's still helping you, right? How many of you have young adults? Maybe college bound or in college? Okay. I have a 26-year-old and 23, I have a bunch of them, but I'll tell you a story about my 26 and my 23. I've got 26, 25, 21, 23, 26. And 6. That's all I know. I know I got a 26 and a 6-year-old. So all the rest of them, y'all in between somewhere. So let me tell you what I did for the 26 and the 23-year-old. The 26-year-old, when he was in high school, he was working, right? Because there is a magical gift that we can give our children. Now, there's no respect of persons when I tell you this, so it doesn't matter if you're 26 or 46 like I am. If I needed my parents to do this for me, I would have asked them tomorrow. As a gift that you give your children, your young adults as they're growing up, is you add them on as an authorized user to your account. Now, here's the key things. It needs to be a good, positive account. Don't give them anything bad because they're going to get something bad, right? You want to give them a good gift. It needs to be a positive account. You do not have to give them the card. So my 26-year-old, when he was in high school and going into college, I put him on my card, I gave him the card, and every month I gave him a bill, right? So he learned how to utilize credit, pay me back. When he got to college, about 2 weeks on campus, guess what they asked him to do? Open up a credit card. And it's their friends that do that. And I think they gave him a free pizza. But he knew better. He called me and said, what should I do? By then I could trust him. I said, get the card. Because now you have my credit, you need to establish your own, right? So good success story. He's 26 now, he's been married for a year, has a home business, he got more money in the bank than I do, he's doing great, right? He learned about financial principles. Now I told y'all I have another one I did this for, he's 23. I put him on the card when he was about 18, he went to Morehouse. I didn't give him the card till his last year at Morehouse, and if he watches this tape, he knows what I'm talking about. He probably shouldn't have had it then, right? So you got to know your kids and know what to do with them. So, but I gave him the same gift. Now here's what would be a bad gift, is that I physically gave him my card and gave him no instructions. Y'all see disaster? So I met with a client recently. She went to college with a $30,000 credit card with no instructions. How much debt do you think she had? Thank you. Easy math, right? So we got to do that. So that's length of credit. 15% of our scores. How long have we had credit established? What they get is what you have. So if you've had a card for 10 years, they get a card for 10 years. Now I told you in the beginning that I'm 46. If I needed this, I would call my mama because she's one of those 850 people, right? I would call her in a heartbeat. Say, Mom, I need to get on your card. So there's no respect of persons as it comes to our age. Y'all got that? All right, there's another 20% left. 10 of it is type of credit. It does matter. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a car? Do you have a credit card? It matters, right? So 10% is the type of credit. A nice blend is one of each. The last 10% are inquiries. Have you been running around applying for a bunch of stuff? Or are you kind of selective about the type of credit that you apply for? Unfortunately, if you apply for credit, it can and will impact your credit score. It could be 1 point, 3 points, or 50 points. I've seen it all across the board. But it can impact your credit score. So just be mindful about what you're applying for, okay? Soft inquiries don't affect your score. That's when you get your own report, like from the consumer monitoring or from annualcreditreport.com. That does not impact your score. So you're okay to do that. Keep doing that, and you will not be penalized. So you got that? Now, when I tell you that it's difficult to get an 850, don't walk out of here beating yourself up and letting Satan put you into bondage because you don't have an 850. This is how you're going to get that 850. All 5 of those factors you need to be dead on. You need to have never missed a payment, ever. You need to have super high limits. I mean, thousands of dollars, 20,000, 10,000. You need to have super high limits and little to no balances. You need to have not applied for anything. You need to have had credit established for the last 20-some years. And then you need a good blend of all 3. That's a little hard, isn't it? Would you imagine? I mean, that's something we can strive for, but that's not real easy to do. So don't beat yourself up, because really in the world of finances, if you have a mid 700 credit score, you're going to probably get afforded the same opportunities financially, like interest rates and all of that, terms and conditions, as someone with an 850. So let's just get into 700s, and then we can kind of be there. But we'll strive for that 850, but that 850 will come when we hit on all 5 of those cylinders. You guys got that? You got a question?
They also sell credit where you'll be an authorized user. You won't actually get the credit card, but that helps boost your credit score so you get that 850 or whatever, and they actually sell it.
Yes.
For a lot of money.
And yes. So here's what you need to know though. You have no control. You don't know that person's in Utah. You have no idea if that person misses a payment tomorrow, because the good comes with the good, the bad comes with the bad. So that's a risk that you take. And the new credit scoring system, there's a new credit scoring model called FICO 08 or Advantage Score. That new scoring model has triggers built into it that says, I will identify whether or not this is a family member, close person, husband, wife, something that makes sense as a true authorized user, or did I buy the debt? So there are this new scoring model that's out. It's out actually now. We're just waiting for it to be used widely in the mortgage industry. This new scoring model has picked up on that, and they are trying to eliminate that using that as a factor. So they're going to just be discarding that debt, because there are companies that's what they did. Usually around $1,800 to $2,000 you pay them, and they add you on as an authorized user. So stay close to home. Try to find somebody where y'all all kind of build credit and use each other's, but that's what I suggest. One more question, I'm gonna jump into business credit.
I was just gonna say, could you elaborate, what do you mean by being they buy it, like who's buying it? Or-
Okay, so I have a service, and in my service, I have, like all of you guys are my clients on one side of the table. Well, you guys all have good credit. So you have a couple of credit cards that you give me access to. So then I sell it to people who need to establish credit. And I give you a little kickback, and I charge them money to add them onto your account as an authorized user. They never get the card, but now all of your data shows up on their personal credit report. Does that make sense? So, but I'm in the middle. I make money. So I'm selling trade lines.
Oh, okay.
So that's the business. And that's, so that is one area. I mean, there are 4 ways that we can restore credit. One is to let the negative stuff stay on there. So let's say we don't have pristine in all 5 of those factors. We're missing a target. One way of fixing or restoring our credit is to just let the negative stuff stay for about 7.5 years, and then it'll fall off, right? According to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That is a strategy. It's a method. The other way is to pay our debt. Is our debt paid? Whether settlements or whether pay in full. But we pay our debts. Another strategy to build credit. A third way is to dispute it. So we're all entitled, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, to dispute any negative information that's inaccurate, incomplete, or unverifiable, right? So a third way is to dispute the negative stuff. The fourth way is to do a combination of all 3. Right? So there are definitely actions and activities that we can do to build and restore our personal credit. Now we're going to go into business credit right now. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about mirrors, there's just different words. different companies that are being used. Why is it important for a business owner to establish business credit? And what a lot of people don't realize, you need to do it day one. So if you're thinking about starting a business, there are things that may impact how you implement or establish your business that could impact your ability to get business credit. Number one, when you establish a business, you need a legal name, a real legal business name, right? That's what you use throughout the life or span or term of that business. You need a address, a physical address, not a P.O. box necessarily, physical address. Doesn't mean you have to go out and lease space, buy a building, all that, right? You just need a physical address. I understand the post offices are giving physical addresses now. You can also do a virtual office with something like that, but you need a physical address.